WWL-TV Channel 4, New Orleans. Garland Robinette, Angela Hill, Jim Henderson, and meteorologist Dave Barnes. Louisiana's news leader, Channel 4's Eyewitness News.
It was a casual pickup basketball game in a California church gymnasium. Pete Maravich was relaxing, doing what he loved the most.
Suddenly, Maravich collapsed. Efforts to resuscitate him were futile, and the man known as the Pistol died of a heart attack. Louisiana basketball legend Pete Maravich was an instant superstar, setting collegiate scoring records and becoming the core of the New Orleans Jazz. He was only 40 years old. Jim Henderson joins us now with more on the sudden death of Pistol Pete Maravich.
Garland, as you mentioned, Pete Maravich was playing the game he loved and gave so much of his life to when he died this morning in Pasadena, California. The 40-year-old former superstar with LSU, the Hawks, Jazz, and Celtics was playing a pickup game at the Church of the Nazarene. Though the men he was playing with said he wasn't going all out and was barely perspiring, he fell to the floor during a stoppage in play. He was rushed to St. Luke's Medical Center.
My understanding that Pete Maravich was playing half-court basketball with his friends this morning at the Church of the Nazarene here in Pasadena. He collapsed on the court. His friends immediately administered CPR and called the paramedics. The paramedics brought Mr. Maravich here to St. Luke Medical Center emergency room, where the doctor and the staff worked on him for 50 minutes. But unfortunately, were unable to resuscitate him, and he passed away at 9:24 a.m.
At a time like this, everyone reflects on his own personal remembrance of Pete Maravich. To share some of his memories, Barry Mendelson, who was the Jazz general manager from 1974 to 1977 and instrumental in bringing Pete Maravich to the Jazz from the Hawks. What are your personal remembrances on this day?
Well, I remember that we were told when we were talking about an expansion basketball team that New Orleans was not the city to come to. And we felt that for those very reasons it was the city to come to. The Superdome was about to open 12 months from then. We had the opportunity to get Pete Maravich. We thought the Pistol was critical to the early success of the franchise. He gave it legitimacy, credibility, and he gave it excitement, and that's exactly what he accomplished when we got him.
We had Butch Van Breda Kolff on at 5, and we talked to Butch about it was such a great combination, the flamboyance of Van Breda Kolff, Maravich, in a very flamboyant city.
Yeah, it was a flamboyant city. It was Pete's home. He lived here after the game was over for him. He wanted to win the ring just once, but he wanted to win it in New Orleans. And there were many, many occasions when people came out to see him play basketball and do the things that no one did at that time that they now take for granted in basketball, whether it was one touch or the peripheral vision or the drive to the hole and slam dunking, and all the things everybody talks about, Pete Maravich was the forerunner of.
The shame of it all was that he never got to play for a championship team.
No, he didn't, but he was very patient with the young players. They looked up to him. Our kids looked up to him. We're happy to have him on the team. He was willing to pay the price to win it here in New Orleans, and we came close to being in the playoffs that one glorious year.
Look back over his career and share with me one thought that goes through your mind. When you think of Pete Maravich, what would be the first thing that comes to your mind?
Intense. He was extremely intense about all aspects of his life. Jim, when he came out on the basketball floor for a game, he would look at me, but I know he couldn't see me. He was looking through me. I mean, when it came to that 55 by 110 feet floor, that's all he cared about. And he knew the game extremely well, and he knew all the nuances to the game, and he shared that with people. And I think he brought to the greatest fans in the NBA some of the greatest moments in basketball. I remember specific games. I remember moments when he was just awesome.
He was magic, wasn't he? And he probably brought the term Showtime to the lexicon of the NBA.
Well, he was a star in an entertainment business. He had the floppy socks, he had the Beatle haircut, he had the mustache. That was his arena, the Superdome, and he was a star. And we put that star on the road, and we put that star at home, and no one can ever forget that.
He went through a lot of changes in his life, in the way he looked and in the way he looked at life. He was a man who was always looking around the next corner to see what was next for him.
He approached life very intensely, like the game of basketball. He was, there was no gray areas for Peter. When he was committed to whatever he did. And his later aspects of his life, it was a full commitment, just like his basketball game. He would play basketball and talk basketball for hours.
Well, we appreciate you talking about him,
Thank you,
Barry.
Chip.
Thanks for stopping by today. The name of Pete Maravich will forever surface whenever the subject of Louisiana basketball comes up. For many, he was the heart and soul of the LSU Tiger basketball team, the driving force of the New Orleans Jazz. His death was met with stunned and often hushed reaction. Norman Robinson has that story.
The official rules.
Shocked, stunned, and disbelief, all words describing the reaction to news about the death of Pete Maravich.
It kills you, you know. It's here's a guy 40 years old, you know, that so much to live for. It just breaks your heart.
News of the loss of Maravich quickly hit the streets and the airwaves. Former LSU Tiger play-by-play announcer John Ferguson paused to remember Maravich on WWL Radio with Ed Clancy and Jim Henderson.
I was doing Southeastern Conference TV games at the time. Started in '65 and did them into the '80s, and of course the highlight years were the years in which Maravich played.
The mop-top-haired kid with the floppy socks first drew national attention while breaking scoring records at LSU. But it was here in the Superdome with the New Orleans Jazz that the man called Pistol weaved his magic, on his way to legendary status and winning forever the hearts of local fans.
He was good, yeah. I remember watching him play. He was really a great player.
Pistol Pete brings back a lot of memories. I can remember when I was growing up, it was a household name, and I'm not that old. I know Pistol Pete strove for Christian beliefs. He was into helping kids, and I think he's going to be greatly missed in Louisiana.
The New Orleans Jazz left New Orleans for Utah. In 1979, Maravich was benched and subsequently ended his career with the Boston Celtics shortly afterwards. His jersey was ceremoniously retired by the Jazz in December 1985. But to New Orleans, and indeed to the entire state, Maravich was more than a mere basketball player. He was the kid who put LSU basketball on the map, and ultimately the man who some say put the excitement back in the game of basketball. This is Norman Robinson.
And I'll have some more thoughts on Pete Maravich and his career later on in sports.
Okay.
A friend of all of us, Pete was, and what a shocker. And I probably, speaking out of school at this point, a lot of people are going to be asking, 40 years old, professional athlete, health food fanatic, you know, what caused this? A lot of people are going to want to know that.
I think they will too, and perhaps we'll know in the days ahead. Pete Maravich's untimely death spread around the basketball world today, and the news evoked memories of the Pistol and his years with LSU and in the NBA. Probably the best known of his accomplices was colorful coach Butch Van Breda Kolff, who coached Pete when he was with the New Orleans Jazz. Today on our 5 o'clock show, Van Breda Kolff remembered Maravich's finest moments.
I thought Peter, the second year I was at New Orleans, I thought Pete played the best basketball that I had seen him, and other veteran players did the same thing. That's when he shaved, no more floppy socks, number 7, and he just played great basketball. He made All-Pro. And the town was right for Pete, and again, you know, the town was right for me.
While with the Jazz, Maravich was the league's leading scorer. In 1977, he was NBA All-Pro twice. The UNO Privateers got just what the doctor ordered last night, a dose of their press, never to do anything halfway. And throughout his all-too-short life, he never did. It was a commitment that bordered on the fanatical that drove him to become one of the greatest ball handlers the game of basketball has ever seen. At his induction to the NBA Hall of Fame, Maravich recalled sleeping with a basketball until he was 14 years old, tossing it in the air as he lay in his bed, performing drills of dexterity with it as he balanced it on his fingertips. He was driven to be the best basketball player he could be, the best of all time if he could. Later in his career, he turned this singleness of vision to other aspects of his life. He strove to be the best Christian he could be as he recommitted his life to God. He became enamored of nutrition, and again, he strove to be as healthy as anyone could be through his diet, sacrificing in too many areas, said some who noted his gaunt appearance in recent years. Today, he died a death both untimely and cruelly ironic, playing basketball in a church gymnasium in Pasadena where he'd come to spread the word of his faith. Pete Maravich wanted to be the best at everything, and to his own satisfaction, he probably was in all that had become so important in his life.
Well said.